I'm Taher, Asad, Bakhtiari, and I live between Tehran, Dubai, and New York. These places became my platforms, and I consider myself an artist.
I'm Stefano Casati. I work as a digital fabricator at Buono Puigmontas here in London. When we were contacted by Taher, we received a 3D model, and one of the biggest challenges was to create, through digital fabrication, a vision that he had to create a traditional handcrafted statue with modern tools and modern technologies. The 36 pieces composing the statue and the internal structure were cut on the CNC machine on a single board. After we cut the 36 pieces, we sent each one of them to prepare the surface for gluing. We waited 36 hours for the glue to cure so that we knew the structure was strong enough for the robot. The next step was one of the hardest ones because we had to make sure that the reality matched the 3D model. This is why we used the 6-axis robot for this particular project, because we wanted to be able to reach and carve at angles that are unachievable on a normal standard 3-axis CNC. There is no robot without fabricator. You have to be there to tell and to control the machine and to be able to control it to an extent that you're fully free to create whatever you want. When we did the roughing, we were removing 5mm of material and we were going 5mm deep into the material. So we were removing a little square. When we did the finishing, we were working with fractions of millimeter. We were removing 0.4 of a millimeter with a depth of only 5mm. Once we're happy with the finishing, we can finally remove the statue away from its support and then start refining it. Every time you finish a piece on a robot, you have to consider that 20 to 30% of the finishing will be done by hand. You want to be able to give that personal touch to something that has gone through a digital process, but then ends up with a handmade finish. After sanding, we applied a layer of varnish and black paint in order to achieve the vision of the artist.
At the time I was living in New York, Black Lives Matter happened. I didn't know much about racism and how privileged you are if you are a lighter color of the skin. And then the trans movement came on. It became Black Trans Lives Matters. I was like, wow, that's probably the least privileged person in this world who doesn't even have a space to take. If we're gonna talk, let's talk about that. The functionality of my object is many things, it's not one thing. My object communicates. It's screaming for consciousness, for people to be aware of it. It doesn't come from this society. It comes from being able to be whatever you want to be and being able to fit in and not having to explain yourself why you are the way you are. Concept of Designers in the Middle is bringing people from the MENA, which consists of North Africa and Middle East, together and bringing unity. I'm Taher, Asad, Bakhtiari, and I consider myself an artist.